Welcome to Bonn Park. I'm Sarah Geidlinger.
And I'm Marshall Ward.
And today we have the one and only Kypp Saunders.
This was a really fascinating conversation. It just flew by. I only just met Kypp, but I feel like I've known him my whole life.
Kypp is the co-host of the podcast The Industry with his buddy Dan Sereda. In a world where we're constantly being shown health and wellness information, I find the Industry podcast incredibly refreshing. Kypp is the owner of the Sugar Run Bar and also Uptown Waterloo's newest wine bar and restaurant, Babylon Sisters.
Here's Kypp Saunders.
Welcome to Bonn Park.
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 Do you enjoy Bonn Park podcast?
If so, we would really appreciate it if you
Leave a review.
like, rate, subscribe, but most importantly,
Share directly from the platforms.
with your family and friends. That's the best way to get the word out to everybody, and more people will get to see our show that way. So click those like buttons and share our show. Thank you.
Thanks.
On with the show. This is it. We are supported by Mountain Oak Cheese. An artisanal family-owned cheesemaker in New Hamburg, Mountain Oak Cheese was founded by Adam van Bergijk and his wife Hanny, who took over the family dairy farm in Holland from Adam's parents in 1976. Quality is their primary concern, as they have stayed true to their roots using only the best ingredients and being involved in the entire cheesemaking process from beginning to end. Their award-winning 2-year-old Farmstead Gouda is similar in texture to a Parmesan and bursts with flavor. Both the 2-year and the Wild Nettle took home first prize at the Royal Winter Fair this year, and their Applewood smoked Gouda, smoked in-house, is sublime. Made with traditional Dutch recipes, Mountain Oak cheeses are the culmination of 300 years of cheese-making tradition, and you can taste it. You may never want big brand name supermarket cheese ever again. Visit Mountain Oak's store at 3165 Huron Road, New Hamburg, and find them online at mountainoakcheese.ca. Your taste buds will appreciate it immensely. We are supported by the Wine Cellar. Serving Waterloo region and beyond for a quarter century, the Wine Cellar, a craft winemaking shop, makes wine for every taste. Customers come from across Ontario for their Hungarian oak barrel-aged wines, from the California Cabernet Sauvignon to an Italian Amarone, and everything in between. Whether you're planning a quiet evening for two or a wedding, the Wine Cellar will provide a perfect pairing for any occasion. The Wine Cellar shop at 300 Gage Avenue in Kitchener, an essential service, has always been a clean and sterile environment, and now the staff are taking even greater precautions to ensure the safety of all. Check them out in person or at winecellarkw.com. Life is too short to drink bad wine. We are supported by Classic Indian, fresh and flavorful since 2001. Did you know India is called the land of spices, as no other country in the world produces as many spices? And not only has India exported many spices, but its cuisine is also heavily influenced by thousands of years of trading with Greeks, Romans, and Arabs. Some fascinating facts. Staples like potatoes, tomatoes, and chilies were introduced to India by the Portuguese, and pepper, also known as the king of spices, was invented in South India. Known for their South Indian specialties such as the vegan-friendly Classic Indian signature crispy masala dosas, or their unique take on butter chicken. Whoops, we mean better chicken, as there's no butter used in its cooking. Also known as chicken tikka masala, the world's most famous Indian dishes actually originates from Glasgow, Scotland. Come experience a whole world of flavors from India at Classic Indian, made to order, fresh and flavorful. Celebrating holidays, their classic platters are perfect for potlucks or office meetings, or if you're hosting a party. Why not a buffet at home with their amazing catering trays? This fall, take home Classic Indian's bottled curry sauces and keep them in your pantry for when hunger strikes. Just add your favorite proteins and veggies. Flavorful meals for the family ready in 15 minutes. Or stock up on jars of their award-winning mulligatawny soup. It tastes like a guilty pleasure for vegans and meat eaters alike, but it isn't. The name simply means pepper water. Classic Indian has become a classic Waterloo favorite. Open for lunch and dinner in a new location at 10 Wyman Road in Waterloo, across from the beer store, Staples, and Home Depot. Stop drooling and make an order online for pickup and delivery at classicindiancuisine.com. Call 519-746-1976 or get delivery super fast to your door through Skip the Dishes, DoorDash, or Uber Eats. It's very easy. If you're doing a good job, it's very easy to forget that it's not just a conversation,
Yeah, exactly.
right? And that's what our show is. It's just a conversation.
Yeah.
We've got nothing hard hitting. We don't want to talk about like, I don't know, the dirt of the business or anything.
Right.
That's what your show's for.
That's right. Yeah, that is what my show's for.
Yeah.
I've also discovered you guys will probably discover the same thing too. People like run out of steam after like 40 minutes to an hour, and then it's like they stop listening, because we had some early ones that were like 2 hours, and then we had 2-parters, and then nobody would listen to the second part, and crazy.
But it's only in that second half that it starts to pick up.
I know.
It's, of course, every time as soon as I hit stop, that the good stuff starts coming out. And then there's been a couple times where we've tried to recreate it, and it's a no-go. It doesn't work that way at all.
I think, for us, 45 minutes is really good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We discovered one time how there was a local journalist who told the story of a murder that happened in Waterloo in the 1960s. We had a serial killer here in Waterloo.
Oh, I saw that
boys,
episode.
yeah.
Yeah, I haven't listened to it yet.
And there's no way Tony Reinhardt can tell that story in 10 minutes.
Right.
Or 20 minutes. He really did he took about maybe 30 minutes to tell that story.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't tell it properly and have it paced well unless you have that space.
Yeah, and sometimes you just got to go for it. Whatever. If you lose a little listenership, who cares? At least you got it out there. I know, Tony. I want to listen to
people
that
listening?
one.
Yeah.
Hello? Is anyone listening?
And you know everybody.
Yeah,
Because every person we've mentioned.
Oh, yeah, that's true. You do know
right?
everybody. That's what happens in your industry, right?
Yeah.
Kypp Saunders, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. This was fun.
We're really excited to talk to another podcaster.
Oh, yeah.
We've been longtime fans now of, it's not the industry, it says industry.
No, it's the industry.
Is it
Yeah,
the
you have it right.
industry?
Yep.
Okay, podcast. I think there's one with a similar title that's like Hollywood, historical stories or something like that.
Oh, okay.
But yours is the one with the beautiful graphics.
Oh, yes. At Zach Hanna Design. We always got to give him a shout out.
For sure, yeah. So it's so funny when you came to the door today, we realized right away we know each other
Yeah.
from all those years at what my in-laws would call our Strumptitch, which is like the place where you park your ass all the time and
Right.
drink, your home base, the place where you always go at Ethel. So that's where we would know each other from. And you've met Marshall for the first time. So yeah, we're longtime fans of the podcast. You're right behind us at episode 88.
Oh, yeah.
You're cranking them out. That's
I
fantastic.
know. We were just, every now and then we look at the number and I'm like, how did we made it this far? And I think it's just because Dan and I like hanging out together.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's the reason why we do so many of ours as well. Like
Yeah.
the more we can book, the better, because we just have fun together.
Yeah, there's momentum, right?
Yeah.
And it'd be interesting to find out why some of them just don't make it past, 20 for whatever reason, eh?
Yeah, I think, well, the editing part is hard work, and I'm pretty lucky that Dan does all of that. So at any point, I'm waiting for him to just say enough's enough. But I think some people get frustrated with the amount of listenership. It's hard to build up a solid base of people who tune in every week and subscribe. And then if you don't get it, then there's you're not getting that reward. Maybe you're not monetizing it. Then people sort of start to be like, why am I doing this? But in a situation like you guys and with myself and Dan, because we enjoy just hanging out with each other once a week, it makes it easy to keep going.
Yeah, you have to be passionate about it.
Yeah.
If you go into it thinking, I've got this money-making idea, it's not going to go anywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's I think you need an ancillary. Did I say that word right? That sounds awful. But you need another reason to do it as well. Like, for instance, because I own bars and our show is about the service industry, I'm getting ideas from people all the time that I can then take and use in my own businesses. So that helps me to keep it going as well. Because we're talking to people from all over the world who are in the service industry and they know a lot of shit I don't. So, sorry, am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
We would prefer if you did.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Because I really don't know how to stop it after this 30 years in the service industry.
Alexa, we're not talking to you. Or is that, hang on guys, hang on. Is it this little? Just a second.
Okay.
Got some tech issues with you guys, Marshall.
Yeah.
No, it's not that.
Yeah, in our case, Sarah does all the editing. And it's actually, I have a bit of guilt that comes with it. You know what I mean? It's just such a enormous
Yeah,
part of
because
the
you do
work.
nothing for our show.
I know. I'm in the same boat. I'm like you, Marshall, and I just kind of show up and drink and talk, and then I feel.
That's kind of how I feel.
I don't think that that's the case at all. Yeah. No, but as the audio engineer of our show, I really appreciated starting at the beginning of your show and listening and hearing the same journey we had, your sound is getting better. Your sound is clearer. Everything's a little more professional. Everyone's a little more comfortable. And by episode 88, you can hear that already.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah. It's like, you don't, it's weird. You probably feel the same way, but like it's a very organic process and you don't really notice that it's happening until someone tells you that. And like, we've had a couple other people reach out and be like, wow, your show's gotten a lot better. And I'm like, well, that's good because it was quite a car crash at the beginning.
Or I don't know if you think about it like this, sometimes you're creating something that you don't realize you're creating. In our case, a while back we interviewed Carmen Cacciopoli of Vincenzo's, right? I'm guessing that's the only time Carmen has talked for an hour on record, basically giving the oral history of that business, and he may never do it again. Right. And now that exists.
Exactly. Yeah, that's great, right? Like, yeah, I know. And we're always surprised. Like sometimes we get a lot of people reaching out to us now to be guests, which is nice. But then sometimes we reach out still to people on Instagram if I just see somebody who's like, they're doing some cool stuff.
The same thing.
Yeah. And they're always like super like shocked and like pleased that you've reached out to them. And
then, me? You want to talk to me?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we want to talk to you.
Yeah.
And you would feel that energy too with your guests that they're really getting something from it. Like they're often not given space to express their ideas and have long formed thoughts, you know, and even have realizations while they're talking.
That's right.
It's usually sound bites.
Yeah, because nobody thought to ask them for in a lot of cases, right? And like I think a lot of these people too, especially people in the service industry, they feel like they're not heard a lot at their jobs, and like they have ideas, they want to get out there, and maybe they've done something on Instagram or whatever, but to have somebody reach out and just be like listening to them, that makes a big difference.
So you're already doing something on your show, and we'll talk about your other work as well, but you're already doing something on your show, which is a winning combo compared to what we're doing. Our show is hyper local. We're only talking about people from this area. But you were talking to people around the world, as you said, and that's already, you've got the ability to reach a wider audience anyway,
right?
Other than just people. Are you able to look at your demographics and see where your listens are coming from? Is it varied?
It is varied. And you know what the weird thing is, though, still, like the most listens come from local people. I think it's just because they share it around and like, you know.
And friends share stuff, right?
Exactly. But we do have people who are now listen. Like we have regular listeners from cities that we're like, you can see those demographics that we're like surprised about. Like we have a regular following in Phoenix for some reason. Cool. I don't know why, but we did interview one person from Phoenix, so maybe it's her. But
You'll have to go down for a convention and sign autographs.
Yeah, right.
Oh my gosh, should we start our own Canadian podcast convention?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So in reading the description of the industry's podcast, I think it says Kypp Saunders and Dan Sereda, like professional alcoholics or something like that, which I thought was really cute.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So we met in university in like first year. So that's I'm going to date myself now, but that was like 1992. So, and we've lived together before off and on. And we've been friends for that long. So we had sort of kicked around a couple ideas. We both are big fans of listening to podcasts. So we kicked around a couple different ideas and nothing was really working. And then we were like, well, I don't know anyone who's just interviewing like service industry people. We found out later, plenty of fucking people do this actually, but we still like to think ours is the best. But like my relationship with him is why we keep doing it. Because we basically show up, we have a couple beers, we bring the guest in, we have some drinks with them, talk for a while. Then we go down to his basement, watch some professional wrestling, and drink beers for another hour or so, and then it's just like a night.
That sounds like I think that's something that Marshall would like to get in on.
Yeah, can I come over?
Marshall's a wrestling historian.
I noticed your t-shirts. So.
Yeah. Oh, you know Kayfabe News?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the artist. Who's the artist that makes your...
Zach Hanna.
Zach Hanna. Yeah. So I love everything about the art for both Sugar Run and for industry.
Oh, thank you.
It's clean. It's simple. Anything that's 1920s Art Deco with plain colors, maybe a gold filigree, and anything of that furniture style or architecture style, I'm all in. So you already have me at this design moment. Yeah, it speaks to me so much. And I don't know why. It's not really Great Gatsby or anything like... I'm a huge Hemingway fan, which actually is a good way to get into talking about a speakeasy, I guess is the proper name for Sugar Run. Hemingway was like the great American writer, but he was also the great American drinker.
Yeah.
And lots of documentation about that online. Like I've been to Sloppy Joe's in Key West, which was one of his super duper hangouts, a couple places in Paris, and have not been to Havana, Cuba, where a lot of those places existed. But there's always that little 1920s flair to it. And this is something that you've brought both to the industry's artwork, but then also to the design of your bar. And the website is perfect.
Oh, thank you.
It's so wonderfully mysterious, which is the whole point. And I know you have, what was the other bar, the wine bar?
Babylon Sisters.
Babylon Sisters, yeah. And is that Waterloo?
That's in Waterloo, yeah.
And when did you open that one?
It opened in September, so yeah, it's been a busy
Better
few
timing.
months. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking, but I'll tell you, opening a second bar during a pandemic is probably crazy,
Yeah.
but also if I had done this over again, I would have made them a little closer together because I'm spending way too much time in my car driving back and forth between the two spots.
With a little door in between the two, like adjoining hotel rooms.
I need an underground tunnel.
I think in Guelph there's like Pablo's and Doogie's like side by side.
Yeah, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
To keep your sanity.
Yeah.
You know, you can listen to podcasts in between.
That's
and then
right.
commute back and
That's
forth.
what I do.
So where did you come up with this simple, perfect design? Is it because of the nature of the bar?
For Sugar Run, so basically, my business partner and I, Justin Vales, my business partner, he's another very old friend of mine. He lives in Toronto, but we designed the place together. And the notion was basically he had an idea to do like a rum bar because we didn't have a rum bar in Kitchener-Waterloo. I had the idea to do the Speakeasy because we didn't have that either. And then so we kind of did some traveling around. We had both been to Havana. We had so we did some traveling around in Toronto and some of the bars there that were doing speakeasies and rum bars. Then we went to the U.S., went to Chicago, New York, and a couple of places like that, New Orleans, that had similar type bars, and we kind of amalgamated a few ideas together. So we kind of wanted it to make it look like have the speakeasy concept. So you're coming into a back alley, you ring a doorbell, you have to give a password to get in, and then once you're inside, it kind of opens, and it's a pretty dingy alley. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, you're safe, people. You're safe, but it doesn't look like you're going to be. And then once you get down there, it kind of opens into like what we feel like is like sort of a Cuban courtyard feel to it, with also some vintagey stuff around the bar area. It kind of reminds you of the bar from The Shining. So
Oh, that's a fantastic way to describe it. I as soon as you're talking about getting in from the alleyway, I think is it Conway Twitty? No, not Conway Twitty. I'm thinking of the song Nickelodeon. Put another nickel in. You know that one?
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, this is it's like so of that era, like trumpety and dancey and lots of like jumping around. That's what I'm hearing. You describe it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's we try to make it sort of a fun space once you get down there, but finding it and like kind of dealing with the elements in that area of downtown Kitchener, it's sort of part of the adventure. Some people are into it, other people not so much, but not everyone's going to come to your bar. That's one thing I've learned.
That's the golden rule of the industry. Not everybody is going to come to your establishment.
Not everybody digs what you do.
The bar in The Shining, I think the lighting is really what the colors of the room.
Yeah,
but I always think of lighting in bars when it's done really well. It's kind of like jewelry, you know. Like it's
that's a good
or a restaurant.
Yeah,
when it's done really, really well.
Yeah, and lighting is so important. And also, like for me, if you ask anybody who's worked with me at all, like I can't get it dark enough. Like I just constantly like turning the lights down because I just like the idea of like a dark, dank spot for. For having drinks with your friends and like the mood that sort of sets, where you're just like you're focused on the music and it's pretty in there, but you don't want it lit up like like a skylight.
Yeah, sitting around in that lighting and that atmosphere takes you to another world, really. Right?
Yeah, exactly, and that's what we're kind of looking to do: transpose you from one, it's like from your everyday life into something where you feel like you're not at home anymore.
I've told Sarah how I've always thought opening anything of that nature takes an enormous amount of courage, first of all. Even if you have a good friend and some people, you surround yourself with people you trust.
Yeah.
You're still taking a life risk.
It's terrifying. I worked for The Twist, which became Flying Dog and Revolution for years. So for Gary Stewart.
Yeah, Dan worked there too, actually.
and Gary was constantly in motion, like all day, every night. Like just, it looked like there was a sense of urgency constantly. And I was 20 and I could feel that. And I think I inherently knew early on that this is just an enormous undertaking trying to make this work. And it's an all day, all night thing.
It is. Yeah. It's stressful for sure because I mean, especially now because as post-pandemic, I mean, obviously we all took a hit during the pandemic, but people are coming back to bars, but basically mostly on the weekends now. So, and this speaks to what you were talking about with Gary. When you do, it's almost like a nightclub format now where you make all your money on Friday and Saturday. And so if you have a shitty Friday or a shitty Saturday, there goes your week, right? And then can I pay rent? Can I pay insurance? Can I make payroll? All that stuff adds stress. And the one thing I've discovered is so much of my work gets done during the day now, which I'm not used to. Like I was bartending my whole life, right? So now I'm still staying up late at night at the bars, but then my days start pretty early because, you're dealing with repairmen or reps or whatever, and they work 9 to 5 hours. And so somebody's got to meet them.
It's going to be you.
It's going to be me.
I know when we talked to Sassy Ray, last year, she was sort of explaining that there's a speakeasy in town and here's how it's set up. And, I'm not going to tell you the password, but it's one of those, wink 3 times and tell them Frank sent you type things.
Yeah.
Marshall was like, we have a what? A what?
Yeah.
I mean, that shows how uncool we are.
I didn't know what a speakeasy was. I wasn't familiar with that term.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So bringing that to our area, I think, is brave enough on its own.
Oh,
like here's a new idea. And I know you said it's not new.
Every
like,
time you guys say
it.
brave or courageous, I just sub
you get
it in my
scared?
head with stupid. but I appreciate it.
I picture you like laying there in bed, looking at the ceiling at 2 a.m, going, "Oh my god."
Oh, that's yeah.
Sometimes
that sounds familiar.
Yeah, which is different probably than the bartending life that you led before.
Yeah, the one thing I used to love about bartending was that you don't really take it home with you. Even if you have a shitty night, you kind of have a couple drinks and a shot after work, and then before you know it, you've forgotten about it, and tomorrow's a brand new day. And there's still an element of that to what I do now, but you definitely take a lot more home with you, which I don't love, but every job has shitty qualities.
And that's what makes all the big moments sort of worth it, right?
Yeah, like when I'm still to this day, when I'm in either spot and it's like bumping busy and the vibe's exactly what I was set out to do, and you can tell people are just loving it, and then I'm just like, I couldn't be happier.
Just a moment of like, okay, it's working. It's working.
So it is worth it in those situations.
Yeah.
Like since the pandemic hit, those are fewer and farther between, obviously, but
so you're finding people aren't really going out during the week?
No, and like if you ask around town, they'll tell you the same thing. Like most places have closed down early in the week because it's just not worth it with labor. And then as you get towards the end of the week, basically, if you get a decent Thursday or Wednesday or Sunday, it's like you're breaking out the ticker tape parade. But you do pretty much all your business on Friday and Saturday right now. Hopefully it comes back. Part of the problem is people are working from home, right? You can't rely on that after work crowd to come by. So we tried, look, we're doing everything. Like we deliver cocktails to your door.
I saw that. That was a great pivot.
Yeah. Pivot, the fucking
Sorry.
term of the pandemic. I know.
I do see Ross Geller with the couch in my mind from Friends. The pivot thing when I say the word. But no, I mean, it is definitely overused, but it is what it is.
It is what it is.
That
is what it is. Everybody has pivoted in some way or another. And it's one of those words I think is like immediately gets my back up now because it's like all we've had to do and think about this during this whole time. But you know what? The way I look at it is we're still here. The ones that made it can feel good about it, and a lot of thanks to the federal government really helped out a lot. So provincial government, not as much, but
I did hear some of that. And so, did you want to talk about? Are you struggling with like hiring?
Hiring's brutal. Yeah, we did have. So a lot of people just flat out left the industry, and I who can blame them really? Like it seems like a very volatile position to be in, and so a lot of people just went to day jobs and office type work where they can work from home or whatever. And so now to get if you have somebody who's really good and really experienced, then you're holding on to them like grim death, and they're not leaving that spot. So there's not as much sort of bouncing around to different, because like industry people by nature are very transient. Like they always feel like the grass is greener at the next spot, even though it's essentially the same job. You're not seeing as much as that. So basically what we have to do now is find people who want to break into the industry. They tend to be very young, very inexperienced. And so it's a lot of training. It's a lot of babying, but we'll get them there, and then eventually I do feel like some people will come back because the money's going to come back, and people who like this lifestyle, they don't grow out of it. Like I've been doing it for 30 years, like if I like it, the pandemic wasn't going to get me out of it, So I do think some people will be like, oh shit. Like I tried an office job for 2 years and I fucking hated it. Like the fluorescent lighting and the immense unhappiness of everybody who was in that office all the time. It was depressing.
I'm just thinking of the smell and sound of somebody dragging their sad Monday morning winter boots into the office and into their cubicle. And that's what I always remember. 6 years of that and I'm done.
Yeah, I worked in a cubicle. It was horrendous.
Fluorescent light just does something to your soul.
It really does. Yeah. The lighting. It's all about the lighting.
It's all about the lighting. Yeah. We could end the show right there, right, Marshall?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, how does the bartender brain work? I think about how there you are and you're working and there's things that are second nature that you're doing. You become a complete expert at making drinks, but you're also have to be highly skilled. You're observing the people you're serving, and then there's layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of sound, which must be like a cacophony, right? Of just sound and snippets of conversations. But it must be like you're on, like you're completely on the whole time, and there's no rest probably.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of it is acting too, right? Because you like we all have to we're all in shitty moods sometimes, and you come in and you got to kind of leave that at the door. I mean, I know that's a cliche, but it's true in our job, and you are on all the time. I'm pretty fucking deaf from DJing for many years too. So, and one thing, this is just an aside, but I discovered now that we all wear masks, I literally don't know what anyone's saying.
I didn't know how much lip reading I was doing. I can't hear anything.
No, I know, I'm brutal. And so then you add like the ambient noise of the bar. It is hard to pick up stuff, but basically it's like multitasking is the whole job. Like you need to be thinking about the cocktail that you're crafting at that particular time, and especially, I mean, all bars are different. Not everybody's doing craft cocktailing like we do, but you're mixing the drink that or shaking the drink that you're doing at the time. You're listening to the people in front of you at the bar. You're monitoring who's drunk, who's not drunk, who's okay, who's loud. Like, is this person going to be a problem later? You're also trying to stay out of the way of the other employees, which is kind of like, we always describe it on the show as like sort of a dance routine you do, where after a while when you're comfortable with somebody behind the bar, you kind of know where they're going to be at all times, and that's when you know you're working with somebody who it's like you're like, fuck, I want to keep working with this person. Because when you work with those people who just don't get it, it's like their sort of demeanor is just like, I'm moving this way and you need to get out of my way type thing, and then that's always, you're just bumping into each other all night. But yeah, there is a lot to think about when you're going through it, I think. And it's funny, I never thought about the notion of a bartender brain before, but I think that's a legitimate way to describe it. Because you can see the people who aren't built for it in like a week. Like you're like, okay, that person's never going to get it, you know? And other people are like, okay, they don't have any experience, but I can get them there because I can see that they get it. And that's been a big thing during this period where we're training everyone. So
that was a great answer.
Yeah, that was. I've never done any serving of any kind. Have you, Marshall? No. And I know that it's because of my memory. So I've got a great memory for something that happened 20 years ago in perfect detail, just like Marshall does actually. But if somebody gave me a list of things to remember, like even 5 drinks, I'm not going to retain that. I'm a visual thinker. And also I'm good at conceptual math, but fast arithmetic to give somebody change, I'll probably be sweating. It's not in my wheelhouse of things that I'm capable of doing.
Yeah.
So you really need those basic skills to get through it.
Well, the math thing is lost in our business now because like anyone coming up now and they're like, I would say anyone from like 19 to almost 30 does not have those quick arithmetic skills, and they don't really need them because hardly anyone pays cash anymore.
Everyone's paying with their phone or tapping or whatever.
So you can see, I'll see the look of panic on some of the younger servers' faces when someone pays them cash and they got to make quick change, and they just like, they literally don't know how to do it. Like,
it's like, I think it's lost like cursive.
Yeah, it is. I know, it's crazy. Yeah. It's amazing. And because I'm old now and I've been in this business for so long, seeing the changes of the younger people, like there's a change in attitude as well. Like there's definitely a larger sense of entitlement. I always joke now, it's like the new generation, they want to just walk into the bar, you hand them $200 and then they can go home. Mm-hmm. They don't want to do any of the work to get the $200.
Yeah. Oh man, that's a change for sure.
Yeah, I'm used to hustling for it, you know? And like, it's better anyway. Like, wouldn't you rather be busy so the time goes faster?
100%.
Like, I don't understand it.
Even in the office work that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Otherwise the time drags on.
We got educated this year on the one spirit that we didn't know a lot about, and that's tequila.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Big difference between tequilas, right?
Yes.
Just need to spend a couple extra bucks and
Yeah, and I think you'd find that with a lot of spirits. Like I always hear, tequila is certainly the one of the moment that I hear a lot where it's like, oh, I hate tequila. I'm like, no, you've only had shitty tequila. That is like...
And too much of it.
Yeah, and too much of it, exactly. But it's the same with like, I hear it with like, oh, I hate Ontario wine, or no, you've probably just had shitty Ontario wine, or like I hate rum. We get that a lot of sugar on. I'm like, well, you probably have been drinking Bacardi White. Like with almost every spirit, there's like obviously varying degrees of it. I think that people are just more familiar with the degrees of like whiskey or like red wine or whatever, right? Like okay, well, I know that like a single malt Scotch is probably going to be good as opposed to like Dewar's or something like that, right? Or like probably bourbon from Kentucky is going to be better than, I don't know, some swill from upstate New York or something like that, right? People are more familiar with that, but with the more specific spirits, and tequila is certainly a perfect example. Like it's not like and you don't even have to go up that big a price range to find something that's much, much better. Just stay away from like the Cuervo and the Julio and, like... And then you have like literally a drink you can just sip on the rocks, and it's amazing.
Yeah. It's the is it 100% agave, right? That's
yeah, 100%. So tequila is 100% blue agave.
Yeah. Blue agave.
Yeah, and then if you want to get into mezcal, then that can be any kind of agave that grows in Mexico. Tequila has to come from the tequila region.
Kypp, back when I worked at the Twist, I realized. So I would work a night shift from like start at 1:30 in the morning till the next day. That was all cleanup, right?
Right.
But I would get to go to concerts like the Northern Pikes,
Yeah.
the Pursuit of Happiness, and I realized that Gary Stewart never actually saw those concerts. He did not stand and still
Right.
and listen. I guess he could hear it, but I mean, he didn't get to enjoy the entertainment.
Yeah.
Are you able to enjoy the entertainment that you bring?
Certainly when I was like physically working on the floor or behind the bar, no, not at all. Like you just don't have time for it, right? You've got too much to do. Now that I've moved into more of a sort of like strictly ownership role, I sometimes just force myself to. And like, don't get me wrong, my eyes and ears are always darting around. So there's a little bit where you're not as enjoying as much as say I went to Toronto to a concert. But I definitely have found, like, especially if I book a band as Sugar Run that I'm really excited about, then I'll just make a point of, okay, just calm down. Your team's got it. They know what they're doing. Let them do it and just enjoy this, right? And so we do, and we have like same with the burlesque night that we do with Sassy Ray, and same with the stand-up comedy night that we have. Like you can't like part of me needs to enjoy those things. Otherwise, I'm not going to enjoy my job at all, right?
Comedy night. Is that a different level of stress compared to a concert or a burlesque performance?
That's an interesting question. I never really thought about that. I feel like concerts are probably the highest level of stress only because of the type of crowd that comes in to see a concert tends to be a little more wound up. They're probably drinking a little bit more, so you got to be a little more aware of what's going on. Burlesque is a very fun atmosphere. It tends to bring out people who are interested in the completely different fun experience, right? And this, obviously, if you've seen Sassy's show, then like, yeah, if you're not having fun, I don't know what you're doing, like, And then for comedy, it's the same thing. Like people tend to just sit there and they drink slower. Like it's not. To be honest with you, I love having the shows there, and they bring people in. But they also bring in what we call in the industry as campers, right? Where so they have like 1 or 2 drinks for the whole show. And that's fine. We still make money and it's good. But it definitely, the crowd's a lot calmer. So there's a much less stress for us.
Now you bring in a band and if like a fan base, and everyone's going to have a great time. It's pretty much guaranteed.
Right.
But I've been to live comedy. And
where it's been a flop.
There needs to be magic in the air, right? It needs to be a good... I'm not putting this all on the comedian.
Sure.
I'm putting it on the fact that there has to be something happening in that room that pulls off an amazing comedy show. And anything less than that, I wonder if everybody can feel it.
Yeah, I've been to other ones where you see people throw shit at the comedians and whatever, but like we're very lucky because the guys we have come from Brooklyn, and so I have a friend, Michael Terry, who moved out to Brooklyn to be a writer. Somehow he ended up being a stand-up comedian, and he's tremendous, and he brings comics with him from New York. They're all like, and like obviously to make it as a stand-up comic in New York, you have to be pretty good. So I think the level is like elevated. So I've rarely seen anyone not having a good time at those shows. So it hasn't been a problem for us, but sometimes we have like a corporate function and they bring in their own comics, and I have seen it in that situation where it's like nothing's landing.
Oh man.
And like the people are just,
I feel uncomfortable just hearing the story.
Oh, it's so like if you're one of those people who gets uncomfortable when other people are uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Oh.
Or I've seen a magician trying to interact with an audience and it's not working, right?
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
painful, right?
Exactly.
Hey, what were you thinking in high school? Like, were you imagining a life like this in high school?
No.
You started at the bomb shelter.
Yeah,
Then
so
Ethel's for a couple decades.
Right. So I grew up in Kingston, and things went sideways for me a little bit there when I was younger. So I realized I had to kind of get the fuck out of there. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go to university. Like, where's far enough away? So I came here and I worked at the bomb shelter right away. So I thought I was going to be a politician. I went to school for political science. I'm technically a scientist. We're just waiting for those political science labs to open, and then we can get to work. But then I started bartending at the bomb shelter, and I just loved the life. And then I still thought I was going to get like a quote unquote grown up job at some point. But then I started doing a lot of traveling, and I realized this is the greatest job in the world if that's what you like to do, because you can always find work either while you're traveling, or at least when you get back from traveling, someone will employ you if you're good. And Waterloo was a good city because it was close enough to Toronto without being Toronto. So I just kept going back and forth, traveling as much as humanly possible, and then bartending, make some quick cash, off you go again. Mm-hmm. And then next thing I know, like 20 fucking years have gone by and I'm still doing it, right? So short answer, I fell into it. Yeah.
Do you get trained to work in some way with security? Like, how do you interact with your security?
Yeah. So the one thing about the bomb shelter was that they had a great training program in that you had to start at security and work your way up through. So you had to do every job till you got to be bartender.
That's smart.
Yeah, it was smart. At the time, I was like, fuck this. I was like a skinny kid when I was like 19, and
like,
I'm
who
like,
am I going to stop from coming in
this
here?
This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, and literally the first night that I was working, I had to like hold a guy against a ice cream fridge while he was trying to take swings at me, and I'm like, what am I doing here?
For minimum wage, most likely.
Yeah. But it really did teach you how to handle security in a bar, and the key to that, just to pub my own podcast for a second, if you listen to the Viktor Yurosevich episode, he's a bouncer in town, and he we talk about this a little bit, where we're saying like you kind of want to be sort of like the key is zero aggression, right? You want talk first, talk second, talk third, then go physical if it's absolutely necessary. And talking someone down works 90% of the time. It's just if you come in aggressive, then people are going to get aggressive.
That's
right?
In life.
Yeah, 100%, right? But it's like when you get in that aggro scenario and people have been drinking, people don't think that way. They're just like, well, I got to go to work physically, right? And that just escalates the situation. So the key is de-escalation at all times. And like, you got to take a lot of shit, to be honest with you. Like, I mean, 30 years in this business, people have said the fucking craziest shit to me. And I'm just like, you just got to sort of take it and not let it bother you until you get to a line where, okay, that was too much, you know? And then if you got to get physical, you got to get physical. But that's what I try and teach people. And then if you have a place like my two spots where it's sort of an older crowd, you don't really need the security, right? You just train your staff to handle it verbally.
Is there such a thing as a perfect evening, like where just everything it's like the stars were aligned and you just pulled off the greatest night from your vantage point, anyways?
Yeah.
It's just something I'm talking about more. It's something you feel. You just whatever it is, the last thing you do at the end of the night before you leave, where you just feel it completely satiated, like you just made magic.
Yeah, I feel like when the place, like I said, the place is full. You can see that people are enjoying it. There's no assholes in there. There's like, it's a constant flow where you're never too busy, but you're busy enough that you're making money. You see your staff's happy and moving in concert. Like some of those times I'll get to, and those are the times I was talking about earlier, where it's like midnight and I'm looking around. I'm like, damn, this is why I do this, you know? So those nights, and specifically if nothing breaks. Because because the equipment is constantly going down in bars.
Yeah.
Like, and then it's just like, oh, your glass washer breaks in the middle of a shift and everything goes to hell. But so if nothing breaks, that's good too.
Do you find people are being patient? Like when you were talking about security, I was thinking about so that frontline establishments that now have to look for proof of vaccination, and then maybe you're dealing with someone who's drunk who doesn't want to give it or whatever. Are you finding that people are generally being patient when things go sideways right now? I'm hoping they are.
Yeah, people have been pretty good coming out of the pandemic. I mean, there's always assholes. Like it's a fact of life, any job, right? But people have been pretty good. We had maybe a couple people balk at the passport stuff right at the beginning, and there's certainly a major issue with fake shit. Like,
oh yeah. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, we can't do anything about it. Like literally,
you have to enforce it, but you can't tell what's happening.
Well, yeah, they dumped it on us, right? And we get it. And like literally, my inspector said that to me. I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to spot a fake passport? And they were like, you can't. I'm like,
well,
right.
Marshall said that to me early on. He said, okay, because I'm a retoucher and a Photoshopper. And he's like, couldn't you very easily just make something? I said, you bet. Yeah, like I can even generate a QR code for one. Like I'm not gonna, but it's easy enough for people to do.
Yeah.
I recently saw that there were Christmas sweaters with the QR code on front.
Oh, yeah.
You're supposed to go out with your significant other.
That's pretty good.
I thought that
That's
was
good.
pretty fun. Yeah.
We already know that we've had people in there with fake passports because some people were taking pictures on Instagram, and then somebody messaged me. I was like, hey, that's my cousin. They're not vaccinated. I'm like, wow, okay.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, town, for respecting the rules.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
It's not up to you to figure it out.
No, don't send me down the vaccination rabbit hole. This podcast will go sideways.
Yeah, no kidding.
When you look at your body of work, your podcast, do you ever think of it this way? You know how in university you can take courses like directed studies where you're carving out your own. It fits within some program.
Yeah.
But you're kind of like you make the curriculum yourself. Sorry, not the curriculum, but this is what I'm going to accomplish.
Right.
And this is how I'm going to do it. Right.
Uh-huh.
And when it comes to something like your podcast, I think it's almost like you're doing your own master's degree in the industry that you work in, right? But you're talking to people who, some of them know more about whatever it is you're talking about than you. So you're constantly learning, and you're doing it in this way that benefits everybody else because we're all learning from it too. But you're actually doing yourself an incredible service
100%.
by digging really deep and asking people, tell me everything about this part of it, right?
And there's a level of validation for us anyway that comes with podcasting in some of your own industry because of that learning and because people are saying very real things that you've gone through.
Yeah, but I would say the restaurateur podcasts that we've done have been eye-opening. Like just, Go ahead, Kypp.
Yeah, I think for you guys it must be even more so because you're talking about so many varied topics, which is kind of cool. We're obviously laser focused on one, but we have discovered how many industry sort of related professions there are. Like we're also going to have Sassy Ray on, and because she works in the industry.
Get ready, she is fun on a podcast.
Yeah, so but I had never thought about it that way before, Marshall. But yeah, 100%. It is a master's degree for me now. I'm learning so much from people, and I interview people all the time who know way more about it than I do, and it's and then as I was mentioning earlier, I can then take that and put that information to use in my actual businesses. So it's been amazing, and I don't know if I thought that I was doing that when I started the idea for the podcast or when Dan and I did, but it certainly occurred to me pretty quickly that that's what was happening, and it's been amazing.
Do you think about your collaborations as a gift? I know for me, I've had a bunch of them in my life, and they seem to have a shelf life. Like I'll work with somebody for a year, and then that project comes to an end, and I move on. And I'm enjoying this podcast with Sarah because it doesn't have a definitive end date, right?
Never.
But in your case, that you've got some great collaborative relationships that I'm pretty sure you realize you should never take for granted.
Oh, 100%. The amount of different amazing people that I work with, either through the podcast or through my businesses on their own, because you're reaching out to people in the liquor industry, beer industry, in the graphic arts industry. I have outsourced all my cooking at both spots to Swine and Vine, so shout out to those people, Jill and Micah Sadler. But they and these are all collaborations I'm doing with people now, and they lead to other ones, right? Just the other day, we were on a podcast, the Alcoholaholics podcast. That's a hard thing to say, but lovely women, and they're both interior designers, and then we started talking about doing a project with them, and it's just like, yeah, like all these collaborations you learn from in a different way, and they add a lot to you, just, I don't know, just to your existence, really, right? Like, I don't know, it makes you feel good about humanity in a weird way, that you can just connect with people from anywhere, and all of a sudden you're working on something together, and you're not even sure how it happened. But yeah, I agree. Like, the collaborations have been amazing, and I love working with people, and I'm very much about building up the community, our local community. So anytime I can do something like that, that's like, okay, we're like, right now we're working in concert with the Kitchener BIA and the Unzipped thing at the museum to do sort of Rolling Stones type concerts at Sugar Run, in collaboration with that, and like, it's bringing new people, and like, I love all of it. Yeah.
Hey all, thanks for meeting us in Bonn Park. Please like, rate, and subscribe to our podcast on the platform that you're listening to. And follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Bonn Park Podcast. Original music by Alan Lung.